quote: if you don't do something differently, you'll ultimately be where you are now, only later. It's a Todd Duncan quote, and I hope you stop and think about what that is saying. I hear people on a regular basis say, I do want to make this amount of money. I want to do this kind of production. I want to achieve what this other producer is achieving. I love those because we've got our top producers very willing and open. They've been on our calls. They want to help also. But there's very few people that have that goal and are willing to do something different and differentiate in order to achieve it. And that's what we're going to spend a lot of time on today, talking about what you have to differentiate yourself. Then the question is what you're willing to do with it. So I want to welcome our guests here to the call by showing you their pictures. First of all, here's who we got on the call. We first of all have Andrew Smith. You've heard him on a previous call when we made an introduction. Andrew came from Guaranteed Rate. He was a regional over much of the state of Texas, has a great background, a consummate professional, great resume if you've looked him up on LinkedIn or any place else, and you can see how he's kind of come up through the ranks, and he's going to be talking about that a little bit. We also have over in Ohio, someone that I've known for 15 years, Adam Galbraith. Adam was most recently a leader at Prime Lending, helped build a $1 billion region there in that Ohio Valley market. A lot of people that I've worked with that he had been working with most recently. They're almost 8 years, and we worked together previous to that. Over in Tennessee, Lauren Riddick. Lauren and I worked together for a couple of years at PHE, which became Cardinal. Most recently, he was at New South. He even had some time at Fairway. And so the background that these folks have that they're bringing to the table, and they chose us. Going down to Doug Smith here, he's talked a little bit already. Doug sits in an office next to me, and I love just the energy and excitement that he's bringing as well to the organization. He's got an incredible team here in the Georgetown area, like we've got incredible teams in every market. And to see then these leaders joining us with their background. Doug was at Caliber for a number of years. And again, if you look on LinkedIn, you'll see some of the companies that he has represented. Steve, 11 years. Steve Ferguson was at Southwest for 11 years. So these are not people that do a lot of moving. They're leaders and professionals in this business that have all achieved some pretty incredible results, and they chose Thrive. Still within 30 days, I think, for all of them, most of them. And ultimately, what is still fresh in their minds is what they left. But what did they choose? So sometimes, you know how this is, you really kind of can be in an area or an environment for so long, you forget to stand back. I know the first time we went to Sedona, we were in awe of how beautiful it was. And yet people who are live there, it's like, you know what? It's just what I'm just used to. And it's really cool. You get a refreshed kind of look at something when someone from the outside comes in. And that's what we wanted to spend a little time doing here today with some questions. And then next week, and for the next couple of weeks, we got our top performers that have been here that are talking about what they leverage and what they do, because they love sharing that like we have had before. When you bring all of this together, it is to help do the very essence of what the purpose of this call is, and that is help you become a top performer and achieve what you want to achieve. So with that, we're going to start having some conversation. Look at these smiling faces. I'm telling you, pretty cool. I have a question, and I did send them out in advance, some questions. Look at even Doug, you didn't check it out. Thank you. You turned your video on. All right. Here's my first question. I want everybody to do this, and we'll just go in order. Andrew, we'll start with you, but everyone, I just want to give you 1 minute to answer this question. What is Thrive's greatest strength or differentiator to you? You know, what sets us apart to you? Because you all chose to come here. You didn't have to. All of you had a lot of other options, and all of you had successes where you were at. There was something that made you come. So 1 minute for each of you. Andrew.
Well, I'm glad you let me go first. I was afraid that Lauren might take all of our minutes if he went first. The biggest thing that stood out for me as I started checking out the company was that it was nimble, but that I didn't have to give up anything to come work for a small company. You know, no one wants to work at a big company. They just feel like they have to go there for the tools, the support, the marketing, the tech. they don't really want to be at a massive company. And so being able to come to a smaller company that you can affect change and get things done without all the brain damage at a big company.
Yeah, a couple of things. I'll try to go through them real quick. The culture and the people was a big one for me. It's just everyone's willingness to help, and you know, we might touch on it later, but you know, I kind of learned about that before I joined, so that was a big part of it. And then also the closing. I'm gonna sound like a broken record. I may cover this a couple times through here, but closing is a big differentiator, something that stands out. Just now that we have the table funding and the e-closings, I look at it as, you know, the must-haves now to be competitive in this market is competitive rates, good underwriting, turn times, the ability to close on time. And, you know, everyone has those, but it's those other things I talked about that make Thrive kind of stand out.
That's cool. Lauren, and again, I can't wait for you all to meet all of these folks face to face, but Lauren is going to be in every one of your markets as our new Director of Reverse Lending. Lauren.
Hello, can you guys hear me okay? All right, wonderful. Hey, listen, first, it's great to be on the line with you guys. For me, just had a brief opportunity to meet both Doug and Andrew in Las Vegas, the mastermind, and look forward to meeting you, Steve, as well as everybody else. And I've just been really blown away by the leadership. I think is first and foremost, all of us pulling together. It's very exciting. And probably the thing that just jumps off the page at me, Randall, is the incredible support, the culture that you and Roy and the rest of the guys have put together just to have a really servant's heart, to really work hard and support the guy in the front line. And I'm just very thankful that my team was just commenting on that yesterday. We have an army, and the challenge is knowing who all does what for us. So it's exciting to be here, and I would just say that it's an honor to be with you guys today.
That's pretty cool. Such a schmoozer, man. Steve. And you know, you all are going to hear more about Steve as well as someone who's going to help us with non-QM and Thrive for Home. But he brought his team over here 11 years at Southwest Funding. I didn't know if they had dirt on them or pictures or what it was. People just don't stay that long at companies anymore. But Steve, great to have you. Your answer, what's the greatest strength or differentiator to you at Thrive?
You know, when I started looking at Thrive, we all get recruited all the time, right? It's recruiting season. And so I came to this very skeptical in the very beginning. I'm like, okay, let's just see what you guys have. And the more I met everybody in charge and I saw the leadership, I saw how you guys were actively trying to make it, you know, the best out there, for lack of a better description. I want to be part of a team that wants to be the best. And so I feel that the leadership is in place, the desire is in place. All those things are already there to make us successful. And I want to be part of a company that strives for success versus gets complacent. And when I came to look at Thrive, I felt that this was a great fit. Man, I'm just super excited to be part of the future success. That's all there is to it.
Steve, can you actually mute your phone for a minute, or turn your volume off, because I don't want you to hear what I'm going to say. So, folks, when I first sat down with Steve, he was a jerk. I mean, I'm telling you, he was like, who do you guys think you are? and then we finally had to have lunch. I'm like, man, look, you are really good at what you do. I don't think you're getting who we are. Okay, so Steve, can you turn your volume back up now?
I didn't hear anything you just said.
Okay, thank you. I mean, this guy's got some really cool kind of vision in the business, and great to have him. Adam, are you on the line?
I am, sir.
All right, so we're not going to we're calling you chicken because you're not putting on your video like Doug, but I know you're in your car and you're headed to a meeting, so I'm going to give you a little slack.
There you go. Well, thanks for allowing me to jump on, and hello, everybody. I'm actually on my way back from a recruit meeting this morning, so what I'm about to say is not rehearsed, but I kind of rolled this off earlier for one of my first recruits, and I've been here all of, 8 days now. So I've got this down to a science, and this is going to sound like suck up to the boss day, but I would tell you that one of our greatest value props, one of the things that brought me here was Randall. And he's probably blushing or not, I don't know. But not just Randall, the leadership team in general. When you sit down with Roy and you have a conversation, we sit with Barbara, we sit with Celine, you know, some of the powers that we have, watching Celine's video and talking about the turn times and being transparent using contract underwriting. I just learned yesterday that we just started table funding. I had no idea. But what I learned from that is that when there's a scenario out there that needs addressed, it gets addressed immediately, head on, tackled and perfected. The comment made of the nimbleness earlier, these are things that in other organizations fall on deaf ears. What I've learned here in my short period of time, and while I kicked the tires learning about it, was that there's never a no. There's never a we do it this way, so we're not going to do it another way. It's, hey, how can we learn and be better at it? So whether you're recruiting, you're being recruited, look at the total package. And when you have an organization that goes bottom up, top down, which is what we are, we listen from the top to the folks on the bottom side, and the bottom has the voice to the top. That is extremely important in my view. So there you go.
That's pretty cool. In fact, I think all of these guys, I had the chance to kind of boast about Sherry and Alana, the fact that, here's two leaders at the company that have been here for nearly 10 years. One of them has. That just doesn't happen at companies, and they've evolved and helped create with all of you and the managers. We got the same manager here was the very first branch, Tommy, that started the company. That kind of legacy and retention is really cool, and that's what we want to continue and build on. So thank you all for that opening question. Here's my next question. This may sound a little bit different, but I'm a transparent guy, and I don't mind asking tough questions. This question is this: at your previous company, what was their greatest strength for an LO? What did you sell most? What was the thing you think that was most important at your previous company to be successful? And then how do you think Thrive competes against that, beats it, or whatever it might be? And because I just want to put it out there. People say, oh, we don't have the best of stuff. Let's put it out there. What was your greatest strength? I'm going to go back to Andrew.
Well, Guaranteed Rate is known for great rates. And with margin compression, obviously that was on everybody's mind for the last 6-9 months. They don't do anything special to get those great rates other than it's a mindset with the loan officers. The loan officers take less comp willingly to get better rates. Most of them average less than 100 bips across the country in every market. It doesn't matter. They're making less than 100 bips. The top guy in the company that did 400 million, he earns 91 bips. So it's a willing decision to not try to squeeze the last bit of juice out of every single deal and have margins that reflect that. It's a willingness to go skinny, do more volume, drive out your competitors by winning every deal that you come across. And you can do that here. You can set your margins, you can set your comp to be ultra competitive. You're not going to win every single deal, but if you're trying to make 175 or 200 bips, you can't have the best rates. It's they go hand in hand.
Yeah, you sell what you have, and Caliber was servicing. We had that for the longest time. That was something that the realtors really liked. So we sold that long-term client, long-term relationship, but it started to go away right before I left, which actually worked out great. And that's one of those things where you almost have to have 100%. You can't say, hey, we most likely will. Either have it or you don't. And it went away, which was great. Given that I was going to leave the company, because then I can tell the realtors, hey, that's something the Caliber isn't even offering anymore. So, and regarding Thrive, kind of competing with that and having that. I don't know many that have that anymore, so I don't know if that's a topic that necessarily comes up. So it's been a non-issue since I've been here.
Hey guys, I think for me a bit unique. Obviously, being proficient, passionate in the reverse arena at New South, we had a very, very streamlined process from cradle to grave to get the files closed and serviced correctly, and we really did an excellent job at that, and I'm excited about partnering with Barry and bringing that same passion and functionality to what we're going to be doing at Thrive. And as Randall shared, getting each of the markets and all partnering together, making this happen. But I would say that's probably the biggest thing, and just excited about the opportunity. And deferring to what both Doug and Andrew said, is that Thrive is an incredible opportunity to tailor make it the way you want it. And I don't expect the reverse arena to be any different.
Steve.
The strength for Southwest Funding was program options. In my opinion, you could do pretty much any loan that you wanted to do, and that's the reason that I was there as long as I was. What I really see as a strength for Thrive is that they're on the same boat, right? They want to give every option and every opportunity to close every loan that comes through, and that's one of the reasons I'm over here at Thrive now versus Southwest Funding. Other than that, I didn't see a lot of benefits. It wasn't run near as smoothly. It wasn't done as well as I had envisioned for it to be, but I got complacent because I wanted to know that I could get the loan closed. And now, I feel like we're getting the best of both worlds with Thrive because you guys are passionate about getting those loans done that couldn't get done before. We've already made some changes, which is fantastic. And thank your leadership for that for sure. And, if we can close every loan that comes through or the majority of them, that's a huge benefit. So that's the difference.
That's cool. Adam.
So I would say that in my previous life, the one thing that was really prevalent that ended up kind of deteriorating over time was culture. That was my first thing in the door selling or telling the story. It was our culture, but over time, there was leadership changes. It just changed, but what was always a strength and a focus, which I see here, is the operation side. We're as good as we can make it rain and bring in the deals, but we're only as good as the people that help us push that loan across the finish line. And the rock stars are the operation side, whether it's processing, underwriting, closing, funding, servicing, secondary. The whole back shop is what really makes it work. And Prime, my previous employer was pretty sharp at that. It's where the sales disconnect started happening is what kind of gave me the heartburn. So, tout that we have that, and we have it, and it works very well, and we have minds that want to listen and learn and be a part of that on the backside. So if you're competing against it, that's something you should certainly lead with.
Next question, and now this is going to be open for whoever wants to jump in, but first, I need everybody to make sure you're smiling. You're kind of looking like it's America's Most Wanted. Man, I'm waiting for a number to pop up under Steve's face or something. So, be careful, pal. All right, so here's the next question. What's a weak spot at your previous company? And you some of you answered this already, but is there a weak spot at your previous company that people that are listening in right now don't know about? Because everybody always thinks somebody else has it all. What's a weak spot, and what are you excited about that Thrive has to fill that?
First of all, Randall, people are staring at me, so I have to look kind of serious because I'm in this class. But now I've lost my train of thought completely because I was thinking about that.
What was a weak spot at a previous company? What was your weak spot, and what do you have to fill it?
So the weakest spot in my previous company was execution. It felt like we had to beat the wall to get a loan closed, and that was so frustrating. We kept getting conditioned for feel-good conditions, and we'd have to argue every loan that went through, and it was just frustrating me to death. And so, after 11 years of the company, I had a direct line to the CEO, the CFO, the owner, everybody, and we voiced these concerns all the time, and it just never changed. And so I tell you what, one of my favorite things about Thrive, and we're all super excited about because we're starting to see it, is you guys want to close loans. You want to make it as easy as you possibly can. You want to make some loans. Your underwriters are thinking for ways to get these things done. Your people communicate. I mean, it's honestly very refreshing to come in and know that we're all on the same page. It's not offense versus defense. We're fighting each other. We're all going to the same finish line, and that's a huge deal for us.
That's cool. And by the way, Steve's got realtors that are looking at him, so whenever you have to jump off, that's okay. We'll just talk about you. Hope you don't mind. So Lauren, speaking of that speed though, so Lauren, you started May 31st, and he's got 7 fundings, I think, that we projected this month already personally, on top of some of the stuff he's starting to do nationally. And that's without even reverse. I think those are forward. So I don't even know what you're doing on the reverse side on that, but I mean, we have an ability to execute, brother. That's cool.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I think, like I say, give God the glory. It's a great pipeline starting out, and looking forward to doing a lot of great business. And just as Steve had shared, the idea is we're all pushing the plow together, pulling the rope together, and that's exciting, and it means a lot. And from my past life, at least when I was at New South, the reverse was very strong. The forward was very lacking. In fact, guys, we actually worked in Calyx Point, and I'll just leave it at that. So, excited to be a part, and man, future's very bright, guys.
Andrew,
I think people probably would know this about a big company, but just the massive bureaucracy. It's so hard to affect change at a big company. I mean, there's first of all, there's just the loan process. You're swimming upstream trying to get things done every single day. But if you see something that's broken that needs to be fixed, and you know the answer, or just you see an improvement, or you want to make some change, and you see that it would be good for the company and for you, there's just absolutely no way to make that happen. I mean, you have no voice at a big company, and I've already seen it here. So many examples of people. I mean, people in the field, being able to affect change at this company, and I think that's really the secret sauce here at Thrive. And that's when you talk about culture. That's part of the culture, is empowering people here.
Doug, I know you've made comments about marketing and how that process was at a bigger company like a Caliber compared to here. Comments about that?
Yeah, I mean, it felt like it had to go through such a long approval process. If you didn't start it so early before an event or anything that you had, it just wasn't going to get done. It had to get in line to get designed and put together. Then it had to go through attorneys, and they were so conservative. And we had lots of stuff turned down just because they didn't want to do it or put the language in it or whatever it was. So yeah, that was super tough to do any of that. Same with expenses or even events. It was just a massive process to go through and get everything done. It wasn't like walk over and talk to Joe and James by any means. So, and that's the difference here. I had a meeting with Natalie. We meet every week, do marketing for 30 minutes just so we were kind of keeping on top of it. And Joe came in and sat with us, and we went over some kind of flyers that we wanted designed, and he's already started on them and moving forward. So that's a huge change from where we were at with Caliber.
And by the way, everyone can do that. That's not just because of proximity. Get on a go-to meeting like this with the marketing group. That they love to do that. Anyone has that availability. Anybody else comments for that question? What was a weakness where you were at that you can solve at Thrive or through Thrive?
Hey, this is Adam. So I kind of touched on it in the first two questions, but I'll go back to it. The leadership at the top. There's no change here. You know who you're talking to, other than us newbies, including Randall. But you know who sits at the top here, and it's real and it's genuine. I lost that at my previous, and I look at it as that's a big factor in the marketing side at my previous. Although we touted we had great marketing and great systems, very cumbersome. Very frustrating. Loan officers just didn't use the tools because it took so much time to navigate. The approval processes just kind of went into the black hole of time, and then you just kept waiting for somebody to respond. You'd have to, follow up on email after email. Weeks would go by, and the consistent dropping of the ball. Again, these are things that make us stronger, and they're time sensitive, and when you lose that time, you lose your opportunity. So I hate to bash or kind of put down where I was at in previous issues, but that's the reason I'm no longer there, or part of the reason I'm no longer there. So that'd be my 2 cents.
Cool. And again, folks, I hope everyone listening in is looking at this 3-dimensionally. Number one, get swagger because of who we are, what we can do, what we can deliver. But we're only as good as you are on the street. So that's what we want to share with you is every company has some weaknesses. Fortunately, everybody else that I've ever been a part of has a lot more and don't know how to fix them. And that's what we're trying to communicate so you can really get excited if you're going out to agents and talking about what you can deliver for them. Here's a cool question, and maybe we'll end it with this one for anybody who wants to answer. At your previous company, everyone has some great top producers. what is something that you've learned from one of those top producers that you can execute here and that you would share as a way to grow business? Anybody?
Is it okay if I jump on this one so I can jump into my class? Okay. So I can tell you, all of our top producers at Southwest Funding really concentrated heavily on non-QM and less than perfect credit, truly. And that's what I do a lot of as well. I'm a big fan of having as little competition as possible. And so we're doing programs that, you can't get anywhere else. And so I've kind of set up my reputation, and a lot of the people in the top producer section of Southwest Funding when I was there before, they're the go-to guys to get the loan done. And so there's a lot of competition with A-paper out there. There's a lot of competition, with like the guaranteed rates or the green box home loans. And I respect that. Those are great products. But, half of all Americans can't qualify for that kind of thing. And so we market to that half of Americans in order to, generate a lot of business. They refer everybody, and they're appreciating us every step of the way because we're getting something done that everybody has turned them down for. And so I highly encourage you guys, if you haven't already, to really take a look at, how do we get less than perfect credit done? And that's something we're all working on right now that is going to set you apart from everybody else. Plus, it allows you to get your foot in the door where you couldn't get your foot in the door before, right? You can go in there very easily to a realtor's office and say, hey, look, take your good stuff elsewhere. I'll take your less than perfect credit, and then you do so well, they give you the good stuff too. So that's really what I'm looking forward to.
That's pretty cool. Steve, thank you. You got to jump to get on your do your training. And that was such a shameless plug, by the way, but that's okay. We're going to let you do it. You got to start somewhere. We know that anybody who first originated your first few deals with any new relationship tend to be ones to solve for them. So I get that. Anybody else answering that question? What did your biggest producer do? And what's a tip or trick you would share with others on how to use a tool or trick here at Thrive to accomplish that same thing?
Hey, Randall, I'll go. So the biggest producer at GR, he was an early adopter of every single thing that they rolled out. And I think that's true with every big producer. Seems like they're the ones that have time to do everything, right? They adopt the technology, and he was no different. He also put in place and he owned the efficiencies within his team. When you're doing 75 units a month to 100 units a month, you got to have everything working very efficiently, but you have to own it. You've got to make sure that you've got the right support. And guys like Kai, I heard the numbers yesterday on the call. I'm sure Kai does this too. I'm sure he has really got his efficiencies dialed in. You can't have any wasted effort. And this kind of leads to the thing about early adopting. iThrive. We have something really great with iThrive, but I know in my region we're not utilizing iThrive on nearly as many apps as we can. I think we're kind of old school, taking the app, like a grunt originator, versus being the CEO of our business and really utilizing those technology efficiencies that are going to help you go to the next level and expand your capacity. So.
And I would just say that, as you know, Randall, a lot of folks in our PHE DNA, they big believers in the core. And, the one thing that I learned from those guys, you have to be disciplined. You have to have a schedule when they have their, Monday morning calls. It's non-negotiable. You've got to pound through the numbers and just stay to that discipline. And that's something I adopted, and it's really powerful.
That's cool. And we're going to talk a little bit about that in our next segment, by the way. Anybody else to that question?
Yeah, to kind of add to that, one of the top producers at Caliber was Rick Elmendorf, and he wrote a book, and I read it, and I even met with, anytime I got an opportunity, met with some of the top producers at Caliber. Like I go to trip to Dallas to try to set up a meeting and meet one of the top producers there. And for the longest time, I was looking for the secret sauce or kind of the easy answer. But, at the end of the day, it really just came down to kind of like what Lauren mentioned. It was just about accountability, discipline, and executing. It was, everyone knows what to do. It's maybe the harder stuff to do. Just the calls, the pop buys, the meetings with the realtors. That's really what it comes down to that they're doing. But they're doing it. The top producers are doing it and doing it consistently, and the results are showing.
Anybody else?
Hey, Adam, jumping in here. So in my previous life, I had quite a few top producers, and they worked in different fashions. Some were extremely rate oriented and used that as their marketing bucket. Didn't spend a lot of money on other marketing. They were very systematic and regimented as to how their workflow would go. They've been doing it the same way and it works for them. And we had kind of an understanding that, as the pricing goes, if you're always leading with price and never putting a value on yourself, that's not a real great recipe. But if you're using the pricing as your marketing bucket to go get a deal, you don't always have to lead with it and go low. But when you need to go low to fight against a specific competitor, know when it's good to and know when you have to walk away. Others, if you look at some of my top producers I had, two of them in particular, they still take handwritten 1003s. I tried to get them to use Mortgage Coach. I tried to get them to use our LOS. They handwrite 1003s, build it, meet the customer every time. Wouldn't use the e-sign disclosures. That was their process. And that was fine for them. That's the way they knew it. But then others utilizing those tools, you had other top producers that would just absorb every tool. So at the end of the day, there's a lot of tools and a lot of tricks in our bag to use. Find what works for you. If it's not working for you, pull it out, try something different. But I think at the end of the day, all top producers, and you mentioned Rick Elmendorf, I remember him from our B of A days. I actually have some of his version of a 1003 to capture borrower information. I still have that. That was a guy that was very regimented. The systems were always in place, and he just it's the same thing over and over and over again. It's like the Ford assembly line. So if you come in the morning and you're not blocking time, you're jumping from here, you're jumping from there, grabbing the next falling knife, it's hard to get to a next level. But regimenting and being consistent in what you do is key.
So I know there was a few other questions that I had thrown out there, but to close it out, I want to go around one more time here to everybody. Final comments, Andrew.
Final comments, I would just say be proud of what you have. Sometimes you get to a place and you've been there long enough, you forget how good it is and what you really have a hold of. And you guys have something great here. We have something great here. So be proud of it.
And to that point, the cool thing is we are changing as a company. If people feel like they have to go someplace else to get something new, the reality is all you got to do is be around here about 3 or 4 months, because we do want to be cutting edge. We do want to have the best tools and resources for you all. And that's why we have these routines that we're building in for coaching and communication to make sure that you all know about how to use them. People like Dan and Mary who are doing trainings for us, and all the stuff that is out there, utilize it. Absolutely. Doug, final comments, thoughts?
Just to kind of add, just to kind of add to that, I agree. I feel like we're on the cutting edge a lot of this. It seems like kind of a copycat business. I think you'll see other companies adding a lot of the stuff that we have right now. So take advantage of it, while we stand out that, before we add new stuff that other companies don't have. But just to, I made a note, there was a question that I don't think that we touched on, but what was surprising to me was the e-closing number yesterday that only, I think they said 15%, which is, even though I wrote it down and remembered, it doesn't seem right that we're only doing 15% of e-closings in the company, which is shocking, because it's such a great tool and it doesn't take any more. I just don't see any downside of it. So again, we have products and features that separate us from other companies, which is tough to do in this business. So that's, a key for me to kind of help me stand out from others.
Love that. And he's a race car driver, folks. So, he's used to being out ahead. Lauren.
Guys, this is great points. I don't even know if mine even are worth speaking on, but I would just say that, 2 things for me. I personally feel that, we need to make it happen while we can. We're in a perfect opportunity to drive business, get results, help a lot of people. The environment's really incredible. And I also know that those of us, we've all been through the down times, and this is a good time. And we need to, if you'll forgive me, I'm going to use a Tennessee term, stack our hay while we can, and really work hard and make it happen. And also on behalf of all the, new guys, just the legacy, the folks that are already at Thrive, that's been there a long time. I know being at my one company for 20 years, it means the world to me that we have so many people at Thrive that that come and don't leave. And so I'm just speaking to all of you guys on behalf of us new fellas. We're very excited that you all welcome us aboard. We're looking forward to partnering with you and just taking the foundation that you guys have already built and all of us doing this together. It's going to be really exciting.
And by the way, on Lauren, I didn't say this at the setup, but he spent almost 20 years at the same company. So it wasn't until they announced that they were selling to another company when Lauren moved on. So he is a guy who respects that retention and find ways to make it work, because that was an evolving company that was growing, but nowhere near the tools we got. So pretty cool. Adam, you want a final comments on this segment?
Sure. So I'll go A, B, C, D, all of the above, what's been mentioned, and add to that. This job is what you make of it. This job is what you want to make of it. We talk about the numbers and the production and the 60 million or 40 million or 20 million. Know that everybody has a position on the team. And I like to equate it to a baseball lineup. Not everybody can bat number 3. Not everybody can bat first. Somebody has to hit 8th. Somebody has to hit 9th, but you got to get back to the top of the order. If you're a $10 million producer and you aspire to be a $20 million producer, you have the tools to get that done. You have the leadership to get that done. If you're a $10 million producer and you love being a $10 million producer because that financially puts you where you want to be and gives you your work-life balance, then be the best $10 million producer you can be. Whatever spot you're in, 5, 10, 15, $100 million, get up every day and do it the best you can. And at the end of the day, everything else will fall in place. If you're a $10 million producer or a $15 million producer and you just really, really want to get to that next level, there we go. Lovely. Is that my cue to stop talking? We're going into our Jeopardy moment there. But at the end of the day, it is what it is. And I use that term saying it's what you want it to be, and make it every day the best you can. And know that your spot on the team is valued.
Well, and folks, again, those who are listening on the call, these are not the leaders. These are more quality leaders and participants to work together. We are all rowing this boat called Thrive, and it's fun rowing it together, and we want to share, cross-pollinate, help each other. So you know where they're at. That's why we got the map up there. If you got questions about comments that they made, companies that they're coming from, reach out to them. They'd love it. The history and the professionalism they're bringing to add to what is already here just makes us all the more sweeter, better, and will make us a premier lender, the premier lender in this business. Anything else? I don't see any chats here other than love the term stacking hay. Anybody else? Are we good? All right, guys, thank you for joining the call.